103.1. Powered by Health Services Authority. Committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And hello, K-Man, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome to your favorite talk show program. How are you today, Mr. Harris?
I am fabulous today. Happy Thursday to you. Trust you had an enjoyable morning and day in total.
I had a great day, but it was a tiring day because I was up early this morning and, one of those mornings.
One of those mornings. It started early.
Yeah, I was like at 2. I've been up since 2-ish.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yes, and you're drinking the hot chocolate. I
did have my hot chocolate.
I would suggest some espresso, but in an ultra-large cup. So this
I'm hoping that I can sleep
espresso.
Tonight.
You're going to go ahead?
I'm hoping that I can sleep tonight, and if I drink the coffee, then I'll be up again tonight. That doesn't make much sense to me. That coffee is not my friend, I can tell you.
Sleep when you're dead. Use the waking hours to think.
That's what I used to hear. The Honorable Alden McLaughlin used to say that is, you'll have, sleep is practice for the dead or something.
That sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Well, welcome to the listening audience for another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM on your radio dial and simulcast live on YouTube, Instagram, and I love to say it, our own Facebook page, finally, covering all 3 key social media platforms here in the Cayman Islands. The phone lines are open. 745-2626 is the number, or you can use our version of the toll-free number, 928-2562. That's our WhatsApp number. And from there, you can send us either a WhatsApp audio note or a WhatsApp traditional text message. Either way, if we receive it live on the air, we will share it live on the air if time permits. So give us a call, send us a text, or you can also email us at host@straighttalk.ky is the email address, and we'd love to hear from you. Today is Thursday, and for what seems like the first time in weeks, we have no guests slated for to be with us in studios today. So really an open mic opportunity all day. So for you, particularly some members of our listening audience who's, occasionally have a few thoughts that they want to share, but they always want to share it just as we're about to sign off. Now is a good opportunity for you to do so bright and early. I want to send a shout out to our favorite couple who are hopefully enjoying popcorn while sitting on their settee. If you're out there and got your ears on, well, welcome to Straight Talk for this Thursday evening. Normally we start off the program with some good news, but, good news is few and far, but, between, and it's harder to find. But what has been dominating the headlines almost all day today, it's a disappointing news. It's a sad news. And we have some Caymanians who are attending school. Specifically, I'm referring to what was today a shooting at a popular university in South Florida. A gunman opened fire today at Florida State University, killing 2 people and wounding at least 6 others. The 20-year-old gunman, a student at Florida State University, and the son of a sheriff deputy who actually used his father's former service weapon to carry out the shooting. The 2 people who died were not students at the university, but the shooter was, and he was, in fact, apprehended throughout the course of the day and is said to have been receiving medical treatment, obviously suggesting he may have been wounded in his capture. But another sad day for universities and schools across the U.S., certainly to parents who might have students at Florida State University, and in particular parents from Cayman who may have students there. obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to you. We do pray that none of those either killed or injured were in fact any connection to the Cayman Islands, but a loss of life is still a sad event regardless of where they're from. So that has been dominating the U.S. headlines most of the day, and which is a switch because normally Donald J. Trump dominates the headlines with some action thereother, but certainly Florida State has been dominating those headlines today. And again, we extend on behalf of Straight Talk, on behalf of my colleague, our thoughts and prayers with those families that are dealing with this ordeal.
Absolutely. 100%. Not that I can say that's good news.
No, it is not good news. That's what I said. There was no good news really to be found for the day, and I looked. I couldn't find any. I see also today that the University College of the Cayman Islands is losing yet again another president. Apparently, Mr. Robertson, who has been there, I think, less than 2.5 years, is going on to greener pastures. See, he coming for his pen. Come on in. We won't bite. There you go, boy.
We bark, though.
Pens are few and far between in the studio. More markers than pens. I don't know why that is, but for whatever reason. When one goes missing, he knows exactly who to look for, though it kind of helps in being the only two persons in the studio at the present time.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, Robert Robertson, the president of the University College of the Cayman Islands, will be leaving to pursue professional opportunities. He was, I think recently, was quoted in the media as saying that he'd gotten an opportunity at the London School of, where is it? Let's find it. The London School of, I'll find it in a minute. Yes, the Institute of Commonwealth Studies at the School of Advanced Studies in the University of London. He was reappointed as a senior research fellow, and presumably that is where he's off to continue his career in education. But again, the University College of the Cayman Islands now looking out for yet again another president. I think that's unfortunate. I think the University College of Cayman Islands has made some very positive strides, and we want to see that obviously continues. I don't know where they stand in terms of annual enrollments, but every time I visit the campus, it always seems busy. It always seems filled with young people. So hopefully there are more and more students graduating from high school and automatically matriculating over to UCCI. They've certainly enacted or added a few different courses to their curriculum, one of which certainly happened during my term in office, and that was a social workers program, because we need, what I believe, more Caymanian social workers, and they started a program in that regard. They've started a few good programs, and I certainly do support the university and its work, and we do hope they are successful in finding a new president to lead that organization. Also in the news, I suppose this is the good news. You know, yesterday we were talking about the guidelines.
You found it.
I found it. I knew I'd find it somewhere along the lines. Yesterday we were sharing the guidelines that were issued by the Public Lands Commission as it relates to Easter and campers and who can camp and who can't camp, who can camp with a license, who can't camp. But we were also chatting rather off the cuff about, well, whilst everybody is camping, won't their homes be left somewhat vulnerable? Potential. Well, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service has confirmed that it will be stepping up patrols over the Easter weekend, both in terms of greater patrols on the vacant homes that campgoers may be leaving, obviously to hit to the beach sites, but also on the popular camping grounds. Police say that obviously advising the public to expect spontaneous road checks aimed at obviously improving and promoting good driving, but they will also be both uniformed and not uniformed, what do they call it? Not plainclothes officers walking through the various campsites.
That's what they said?
Is that what they said?
It's just so that you're always on the alert.
Always.
Because you'll
on
never
the
know.
alert. You never know. Is that, do you know who that is? Is that Tommy? I don't know that. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
Is that
Babylon,
a potential? That's so the burglars are on the alert, you know?
Maybe.
You never know. It could be a plainclothes guy.
You never know. You never know. So there was I think a statement saying that from Mr. Superintendent Seals also made a comment saying camping culture in the Cayman Islands has always been a time where families get together and spend quality time with each other. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we have found that in most recent years, the tradition has been sullied by those who use these activities to commit crimes and carry out antisocial behavior, such as drug use and breaches of the peace. Mm-hmm. As such, the police will be actively patrolling campsites, and they ask that any such activities be reported to the police by calling 911. So there you have it. The police will be out on patrol this Easter weekend, and I think that's a good thing. While some people consider it a nuisance and annoyance, they're there to keep us safe. They're there to keep you safe from yourself sometimes. And frankly, I'd rather have them on that proverbial wall than not. So well done. Bravo to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. And for you campers who want to do something other than having Rockstone as your pillow, be aware, police, they're about.
They're about the place.
They're about the place. Quite right.
So I like that. Policing 101. Yeah. How to be in a million different places at one time. Announce that you'll be in plain clothes.
Exactly. Announcing you'll be in plain clothes. They could be anywhere, people.
They're everywhere.
You go to spark up and someone jumps out of the tree.
You just never know who's who.
You just never know.
I like that one.
Yeah, there you go.
You can learn something there, Austin. Glad we analyzed that.
Indeed, indeed.
Oh, Lord, that was too funny. All righty.
So what's on your mind today?
So we're finished with the good news? Is that what you're telling me or what?
I think we're finished with the good news.
I guess, first of all, today is strange, right? There was a lot of traffic on the road. I went out at about 1:15. Had to make it to the campus and probably took me 20 minutes from my place, which is not normal. I'm 5 minutes away. So what is the reason for this? Is it more bear buying for the weekend or something, Mr. Harris?
I don't know. I
thought you kept up with these things.
Sorry, what was the question?
I thought you had like a degree in trafficology or something.
Well, I do kind of have a degree in, traffic jams, but, trafficology might help. What was the question?
Well, why was there so much traffic on the road today?
Why?
It's Thursday.
Of course, the day before.
Is it like a virtual Friday?
It's a virtual Friday. Everybody's closed tomorrow and on Monday.
Oh,
we talked about it yesterday. No liquor sales on Friday or Easter Monday.
I'm not keeping up the
Everybody was out shopping, getting their party supply. Sorry, camping supplies, not party supplies. Slip of the lip. They were out there getting their camping supplies. And yeah, it was the start of the weekend. So today was theoretically a Friday. I have to remind myself, I don't know what it is about this week, but I've been struggling to remember simple days of the week. Like someone asked me today, didn't you have the two marriers on your show recently on the referendum question? I was like, yeah, we did. What day was that? Today's Thursday, but I struggled to remember Monday. And I guess I was struggling to remember what day it was today as well. So I don't know.
So I guess Tuesday the 29th of April, the day before Election Day, is going to be similar then in terms of the traffic, right?
Well,
getting your cooler full?
Well, one would suspect so. And who knows, maybe folks will be camping then as well. But I think it was extra traffic today because of the Easter long weekend. Traditionally, you got folks doing a variety of things. So if you're not camping, you're certainly getting last-minute supplies so you can head to the airport, so you can depart the island for the long weekend. So I think that may have been a part of it. I know Cayman Airways have been doing some specials, and whenever Cayman Airways does a special, you'd be surprised how many people take them up on it. So that may have been a contributing factor. Not to mention, of course, again, the closure of liquor stores both Friday and Monday might be such to cause, we've heard of a run on the banks, but maybe today was a run on the liquor stores. I don't know.
Yeah, well, lots of things I think that we could talk about. I guess it's only a question. We don't have to wait till 5 o'clock today. I think 5 o'clock started around 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
But in no particular order, Mr. Harris. I know yesterday we were chatting about the issue, and I guess probably three things on my mind today.
Okay.
One is we chatted yesterday with Mr. What's his name again? Leon Gold
Yes.
from the Red Bay Group,
Yes.
or Red Bay area, one of the potential representatives. And I think there were some comments in relation to independent candidates. I'd like to chat a little bit about that,
Okay.
as well as perhaps you and I, with the experience that we have, provide a little bit behind the curtain view
Yes.
of some of the things that happen, particularly when you get elected,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And I think another one would probably be, I have to respond. I have to respond to CPR's nonsense about this failing once again to show up to debate like naughty kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one.
Actually, I heard that there was, in fact, a planned televised debate between ACT and CPR. But
You want me to start there, don't you?
I do want you to start there. Why not?
Well, let's chat.
But was that what you were referring to? Was my question?
Yes, there was supposed to be a debate tonight, I think it was, on Radio Cayman, and then that would have been broadcasted on YouTube, right?
Okay.
And I want to try to speak about this dispassionately.
But once again, they failed to turn up despite all of the platitudes.
Yeah, they failed to show up.
I just want to say for the record, I don't know what you're going to say. We didn't talk about it in advance. It's certainly no pre-planned here. But for all
We don't pre-plan.
But for all of the noise that is made, and some people may say, we make noise on this issue, and I've heard other commentators, let's put it as such, taking a stance, perhaps supporting the CPR group, and that's all well and good. But for all of the platitudes, I cannot wrap my mind around why any group who says they're representing a group of people would have some objection to debating or at least discussing or engaging in open dialogue with their equal and or opposing group who's obviously, supportive of an issue. That really does baffle the mind. But please continue.
Well, for what it's worth, I did speak to at least one Compass reporter who agreed with that as well. But the challenge there is there anyone with the courage to go ahead and to publish it? So I'm going to try to speak a little bit dispassionately because I think sometimes as I get into this, let me say that sometimes I seem to be a little bit misinterpreted. I'll give you one misinterpretation. For example, if you're talking and we're in some sort of a discussion and you make a point, I tend to want to jump in right away so that we could just cover one point at a time as opposed to trying to shoot 7 of them at one point in time and everybody gets confused.
Right.
Then that's oftentimes misunderstood and they'll say, maybe Ellio, you might be being defensive or some other emotional word. So let me just be a little bit as reasonably dispassionate about this. Ladies and gentlemen, you would have heard me saying on numerous occasions, I thank the Chamber of Commerce for conducting their debates. I told you that it's a wonderful thing in my humble opinion. And in fact, as far as I'm concerned, we need to do a lot more of a bit of political reform so that we can take the campaign off the roads in terms of public meetings and people spending millions of dollars, because I can assure you that's probably what they're spending. I mean, when you got lights flashing that's costing you hundreds of dollars every day and you got 3, 4, 5 of them running around place, you can imagine the amount of money that's being spent. So I said that these public discussions as being held by the Chamber of Commerce is and was a good thing. And it's a good thing because it gives you, the voter, an opportunity, if you live in that constituency particularly, to be able to hear, assess your candidate, and thus be able to make a much more informed decision. So you're able to watch how they move, how they conduct themselves, the cadences, and all these other nice things that you want to say, how quick the response was, how articulate it was, or lacking thereof. All of these things are peripheral assessments, and then you can also get to the direct meat of the matter, if you like, the substance, in terms of what were their specific responses to a specific question. Right. And so I want you all to understand, and I give you that preface because I am no different when it comes to the referendum discussion. For whatever reason, there is not as much discussion on the referendum when it comes to the issue of marijuana. That could be because the proponents might be busy smoking. I don't know. But there's not a lot of discussion on that one, and there's not a lot of discussion on gambling. I can't apologize for that. What I can tell you is that there's a lot of discussion back and forth on the cruise tourism issue. And to remain consistent, I want to say to you that you deserve the exact same thing on the referendum issue that we get with the Chamber of Commerce on the constituency debates. I've also stated to you that if a candidate does not show up to a Chamber of Commerce debate, that in of itself speaks volumes. And that arguably you should vote accordingly. Now, on this referendum issue, ladies and gentlemen, there are two sides. Maybe there's a third one lingering somewhere. But there's two sides, and that is those who are for the peers, or birthing facilities, and there are those who are against it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it only makes sense. And please, if I'm wrong, 745-2626. That's the number to call. Or 928-2562. If I'm wrong, please feel free to text or call in. Preferably a call. Love dialogue. That you deserve the exact same thing when it comes to this discussion on cruise tourism. You deserve to hear what, in this particular case, the proponents, primarily being driven by ACT, the Association for Cruise Tourism, you need to hear what they have to say. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you right now, if you haven't taken the time out to hear what they have to say, then you're doing yourself and your country an injustice. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, you should have a right to hear what the opponents, in this particular case, CPR, Sustainable Cayman, Vote No, and a couple of other fragments, have to say about it. Because they also have something to say. Mm-hmm. And if you don't listen to what they have to say, then equally you are doing yourself and your country an injustice.
Yeah.
Now, what is the issue here that I want to talk about is the fact that what we have is one says something today, 3 days later, the other one says something. And if you're a normal human being like myself, you might forgot what the last one said, unless you were making some copious notes, as I've known a few people to do. Yeah. You're probably going to lose it. Mm-hmm. This is why I would have encouraged the same thing that happens in relation to the Chamber of Commerce with your candidates sitting around a table at the same time, engaging in a dialogue, debate, or whatever the deal letter makes you happy. In this particular case, is nothing different. Mm-hmm. You should be able to have ACT members or proponents of the birthing facility sitting at the table with those who are opponents and being able to have the exact same questions posed to them. Mr. X, what do you believe is the issue with the environment? Mr. Y, what do you believe is the issue with the environment? What's the solution? Whatever it is, both persons getting questions and being able to answer them so that you, the members of the listening public, can listen very carefully and make an informed decision.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to say to you, there have been at least 4 debates, 4 proposals, suggestions, invitations to the CPR group to sit down and to have dialogue. I don't want to use the debate word. Sit down, let's have some dialogue. And one of those started when the moment I joined ACT, where we reached out, that in this particular case, the Sustainable Cayman, saying we want to sit down and have some dialogue where we can discuss this issue, we can hear what your concerns are, and see how we can address them. Mm-hmm. So that hopefully we can remove, let's just say they have 10 gripes. Let's discuss those, and maybe there's 2 or 3 of those that can fall off the table because there's a way to resolve that. Or hopefully it would be the other way around, and we've resolved 7, and we only have 3 issues that really of contention.
Right.
Working towards consensus. Working towards finding a solution. They told us that they would meet, and then we, at the last minute, before we were supposed to meet, and this was going to be private, by the way, they canceled. And the next thing we knew, they had Emily DeCow, who's now running for Georgetown East, which was at the time the president of Sustainable Cayman. Mm-hmm. she went on the radio, Radio came on. Her and another lady, which I won't bother to try to call her name. Mm-hmm. And they was discussing this issue, and as far as I'm concerned, giving some information that was just factually incorrect. I called in, very calm voice. In fact, I would like to believe much calmer than I'm even talking right now. Mm-hmm. And simply offered up the facts. That's the closest thing we came to having a discussion and a dialogue. And I did mention in that particular call and reminded them that we had invited them to be able to have a conversation.
Yes.
Subsequent to that, it has been an invitation again by ACT. There was the talk again from the Deputy Premier. There was even, as far as I can recall, an invite to anyone who wanted to engage in a dialogue by CMR, in fairness to the good lady there. And now Radio Cayman, or the government, I think it's Ms. Gina Matthews, inviting us to all come to Radio Cayman tonight to be able to sit down and to discuss this issue. All three areas, by the way. Mm-hmm. And cruise tourism was supposed to go last. And once again, CPR has backed out. And again, as I have said with the constituency debates, ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you to see that just that in of itself, ladies and gentlemen, a consistent, how can I put it? A consistent failure to show up to a debate, refusing.
10 seconds.
Okay. And I will pick it up right after the break. Keep it locked right here to Straight Talk on 103.1.
Bobo.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to top shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. Donald Trump says he's 100% sure that he'll strike a trade deal with the European Union. He's hosting the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, at the White House. Ms. Meloni is putting herself forward as a mediator between Washington and Europe, as concern grows about the damage the Trump tariffs are causing to global trade. Nomia Iqbal is at the White House.
On tariffs, she did say Donald Trump was wrong to impose tariffs, but she also said right at the start that she wasn't there to negotiate on behalf of the European Union. But she did confirm that Donald Trump would be visiting Rome at some point where he'd have an opportunity to meet other EU leaders who really want to meet him. Presumably, that will happen at some point before July, because that is when the 90-day pause on the tariffs on the European Union are lifted. But so there's room there to negotiate, and presumably that is what she's hoping will happen.
Hamas has formally said that it will not accept Israel's latest ceasefire offer of a 45-day truce in return for the release of 10 Israeli hostages. The group's chief negotiator, Khalil al-Hayya, said they would not agree to a partial deal that serves the Israeli Prime Minister's political agenda. From Jerusalem, here's Gary O'Donoghue.
Hamas officials had already indicated to the BBC earlier in the week that they would reject this plan. The group has previously said it would contemplate an overall deal to end the war, but the two sides are nowhere near any kind of agreement that would bring that about. Israel's stated aim is the complete disarmament and destruction of Hamas. Meanwhile, dozens of Gazans are dying each day in airstrikes with no humanitarian aid entering the Strip at all.
The French President Emmanuel Macron has said talks in Paris on ending the war in Ukraine had been a very important occasion for convergence. He was speaking after meeting the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and as the US envoy Steve Witkoff sat down with some of Ukraine's European allies. Hugh Schofield reports from Paris.
President Macron seems to be delighted by the way the day of talks has gone. His office implying in a statement that a new diplomatic format, France, the UK, Germany, plus the United States and Ukraine, will from now on be playing a crucial role in searching for a ceasefire. The Europeans have felt distinctly sidelined by President Trump's go-it-alone peace efforts, but according to the Elysee statement, the Americans understand the importance of working with the Europeans and are ready to discuss the content of security guarantees so that Ukraine can achieve a lasting peace.
President Trump has said he's in no hurry to launch an attack on Iran over its nuclear program. Speaking to reporters, he denied reports that he'd waved off an Israeli strike on the country, but said he believed Iran did want to negotiate. The head of the UN's Atomic Energy Watchdog has warned that Iran and the US are running out of time to secure a nuclear deal. This is the latest world news from the BBC. A judge in the United States has ruled that Google has an illegal monopoly in advertising technology which determines where online adverts are placed. The judge said the tech giant had willfully engaged in anti-competitive acts to dominate the market. Google says it will appeal. A cable car has plunged to the ground in southern Italy, killing at least 4 people. The accident happened at Monte Faito, a 1,000-metre-high mountain about 30 kilometres southeast of Naples. Some reports suggest one of the cables snapped. 16 people had to be rescued from another cabin, which was struck in mid-air. Health officials in Kenya have suspended all kidney transplants at a group of hospitals which operate across the country after accusations of organ trafficking. An investigation by German media linked the Kenyan hospital group to the buying and selling of organs. The Mediheal Hospital Group has denied the allegations. A shooting at Florida State University has left 2 people dead and 6 others injured. Police in Tallahassee said officers shot and wounded the gunman, who is a student at the university. They identified him as the son of a serving policewoman. They said he used a handgun owned by his mother. Walter McNeil is the Leon County Sheriff.
Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we are continuing that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to.
Around 800,000 homes and businesses in Puerto Rico are still without electricity, a day after a power cut caused blackouts across the U.S. territory. Hospitals, airports and prisons are reported to still be without power. Luma Energy, which operates the island's power grid, cited several reasons for the outage, including a protection system failure and the presence of vegetation on a transmission line. The network has suffered from many years of underinvestment. BBC News.
Hello. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Kim, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcast live on YouTube, Instagram, and now on Facebook at Straight Talk Radio Show. The phone lines are open, 745-2626, or you can use our version of our toll-free number, our WhatsApp number, by dialing 928-2562. And, of course, you can either send us a WhatsApp audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text. Either way, we will be happy to read it on air. And I just want to say to my colleague's point, and again, for the record, because we, too, on Straight Talk, have extended verbal invitations anyway, because I really don't know who to write to at the CPR side of things. But I extend, I think for the second time, another invitation to the CPR group to come and join us in studios here in Straight Talk on Bobo 103.1 FM. And let's discuss. I won't use the D word, but let's discuss.
Another D word.
And again, you know, I'll be happy to moderate. Obviously, my colleague, who's the co-host and partner with me, he's going to be here. But there's absolutely no reason why we can't have a conversation. And as we like to say, even if we must, we can disagree without being disagreeable. But my friend, you were saying something before you were abruptly cut off.
No problem. I understand that you had quite rightly been distracted over there, Austin.
I was slightly.
And thus we almost came right down to the wire on that one. But I appreciate that. So, you know, again, just before the break, touching on this, if we were watching, as we should, and I have seen some anomalies, mind you, but if we were watching the leader debate that took place a couple of nights ago, and one of those leaders chose deliberately not to show up, I'm not talking if, you know, there was a death in the family, you know, the cow fat, the dog stole the homework or something important. You know, if that happened, you know, you got to let him slide.
Exactly. You forgive that one.
Yeah, you forgive that one. This was something major. Something major happened, so therefore, you know, the little fella couldn't show up.
Cat swallowed the canary. Pet store was closed.
You know, these things happen.
Yep.
An iguana trapped me in my house or something. You know,
you don't know how scary that can be until you see how those suckers whip those tails.
Yeah, it might come across as a bit of a cowardly excuse, but one was offered. But honestly, on a serious note, if you can have something serious, death in the family, you know, a car accident, there's a legitimate reason, and we all know what it is when we hear it. We know what a legitimate excuse is when we hear it. If that happened, and the person did not show up to the leader debate, we would say regrettable, but we really can't hold it against him.
Mm-hmm.
But what we would infer, rightly so, if one of them chose just not to show up, is we would say that there were going to be a battle of wits and somebody was unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we would say.
Yeah.
We would say he doesn't have what it takes, and so he doesn't want to stand amongst the other two and prove that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you to draw the exact same inference about the CPR, Sustainable Cayman, and the other troop of colors that follows behind. Because they have deliberately chosen on numerous occasions, with little excuses, like the dog stole my homework, as reasons not to show up. Let me give you the letter that they wrote now, why they couldn't show up to the last one, because I regret I don't have the other letter. But I'm so busy during the day, I can't come in here like a scholar with all my research. But it says on Monday, April 14, 2025, CPR Cayman was invited to participate on a panel discussion segment on cruise birthing referendum at Radio Cayman on Thursday, April 17, 2025. That's today. However, after careful consideration, we declined the invitation. While we fully support open dialogue and the dissemination of accurate information to the public, we do not believe this particular forum is conducive to a fair and constructive discussion.
Is that what that was their comment?
This is part of it. I mean, I hear chickens clucking now. Unfortunately, the prior conduct of certain invited participants has demonstrated a clear disregard for respectful and fact-based discourse.
Wow.
Their involvement undermines the credibility of the discussion and risks turning what should be an informative forum into a platform for misinformation and political posturing. neither of which serves the best interests of the Cayman Islands or its citizens. I hear chickens. It is important to underscore that the referendum question on cruise berthing, because it gets worse, it is important to underscore that the referendum question on cruise berthing is entirely non-binding on any future elected government. Somehow that's the reason to not show up, Austin. Further, the presence of the deputy premier on the panel, who rather than demonstrated the expected neutrality, has been openly aligned with pro-port groups and campaigned for a yes vote, adds further concern that this forum will not lead to a fair and balanced discussion. I hear chickens.
Sounds like somebody is running scared.
Yeah. Dog stole my homework. Iguana has me trapped in my house. In the face of the current fiscal challenges, pursuing cruise berthing infrastructure would be fiscally irresponsible. No, let me give you that one again. In the face of the current fiscal challenges, pursuing cruise berthing infrastructure would be fiscally irresponsible and would impose an enormous unsustainable burden on the country's already strained finances. To use my colleague's word, what the world does this have to do with not showing up to the debate? Throwing rocks. Let's just try to throw some little loose rocks, make some points, but in the meantime, don't hold us accountable by actually showing up to debate. I hear chickens. Such a venture cannot be justified under any prudent or forward-thinking financial policy. Furthermore, the current promotional messaging, such as vote yes, save cruise tourism in Cayman, is deliberately misleading and misrepresents the true nature and implications of the referendum question.
Yeah.
The tactic manipulates public perception by conflating separate issues, and in doing so, actively undermines the public's ability to make an informed decision based on facts rather than fear or misinformation. In light of these concerns and the timing of the request, we will not be participating in the discussion. We remain committed to engaging with the public through other avenues that ensure respectful, transparent, and fact-based dialogue.
As long as we are in a safe place with nobody there except our friends who agree with us, we will not be participating.
That's it. That is the full mouthful, ladies and gentlemen, with the greatest of respect from persons that are nothing else other than exercising complete cowardice. If you heard this from anyone, as I've said, of the potential leaders, you would have to discard them. And you would have to recognize them for just what they are, cowards. Because if you have a strong position, get up and state it very strongly. Let me just discuss some of these one at a time. First of all, again, on the whole issue of someone there who has, unfortunately, the prior conduct of certain invited participants has demonstrated a clear disregard for respectful and fact-based discourse. Well, again, I don't know who that could be. Neither myself nor my colleagues have actually engaged in any real dialogue with them. So the only person I can imagine is I'm going to put myself there.
Well, you got a caller on the phone. Maybe they want to offer up a comment on your remarks. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Minister Brian. How are you?
Good, Mr. Brian. How are you, sir? Good to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I am okay. I can't say that I'm great today. I just overheard Mr. Solomon read out that press release, which probably hurt me just as much as it hurt him and yourself in reading it. I think it goes further than cowardness and chickenness, to be honest with you. I somewhat feel deflated today based on what I know now is a full bias by the CPR group and their team. And this has nothing to do with the people's lives that are being affected in cruise. It's nothing to do with a balanced approach to the discussion. And I think I was fooled in believing that they would be balanced about this. This is yet the fourth time now they've backed out of proper discussion where persons can see the viewpoints on both sides. and I've tried to be so diplomatic about it, and because my job is to represent the people's viewpoint. I have my viewpoint, and my viewpoint is that the country needs a pair. Whether or not we respect the people's decision is a different question. We will respect, we've said so, but that doesn't mean that I can't tell my people that I believe that this country needs a cruise pair. So that's utter nonsense what they're saying there. But they talk about fairness when they're getting involved in other areas that has nothing to do with cruise by telling people to vote no on all three things. This group has become a political group, not a group about the cruise pair. They talk about deceitfulness, telling people the country can't afford it when they know the models that are available within any proposal for infrastructure can be one that does not come one penny from the good people of the Cayman Islands. The people who are promoting this are the people who are bound to lose their profits that they make off of the tendering process. That's what this is about. And I'm so disheartened because while they sit around and play games, just like Mr. Wooden has said, talking about the environment and the things that they have done to damage the environment to have the life that they have, my people are going to be the ones who are suffering when they don't have work, when we see the projections and the reality of what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And I'm telling you, man, it's burning my heart and my soul today because they know better, but they don't care. And, you know, as close as the election is, I just feel so disappointed. And good people that know better, and they're using tactics that don't make sense. And while you try to, I guess what you would say, fight fair or debate fairly, they use other strategies. But I'm just praying to my Heavenly Father above that my people can see through their nonsense, because they're the same ones who will throw us to one side when things get hard. But anyway, I trust the Lord in respect to this, but I don't see how they are really saying about fairness for this country in respect to the things that they are doing. But, you know, there's somebody else who's watching, and I leave it in his hands.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say, gentlemen, because I know you guys are trying to do as much as you can to be as fair as you can in respect to this. But this country, sometimes I feel it's so not a fair place. They don't play by the rules. They don't play by fairness or morality. It's all about the bottom line. You know, while many people are going to be suffering as a result of the true decline that is coming. But I wonder one day when it's time to build a cargo facility, when we have to import food to eat, whether their position is going to be the same. But, you know, as again I said, I'm a praying person. I trust the Lord to take care of them because, you know what I'll say it. Hypocrisy is alive and well in this country to such a level I've never seen before. As I grow as a politician in this country, my heart gets just smaller and smaller and smaller when I think the best in people and you go, oh my God, are you serious? Are you seriously doing that? And it's some people that you looked up to in your life growing up and saying, oh, those are good people. These are good people. And you see, now you know better and you see better and you go, seriously? Do you realize that people depend on food? They feed their children on this industry. But if it was any other industry, the one that Caymanians don't depend on so heavily, it wouldn't have been an issue. Anyway, I get off my soapbox before anything else goes any further, but it really hurts my heart today to know the games that they're playing.
Yes, sir.
So continue your good work that you guys are doing in this dialogue, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you for taking the time, Minister, from obviously what has to be the busy campaign hustings to share your views. It is a significant disappointment that those, and again, you know, there are always going to be two sides to any issue, those who are for, those who are against. We accept that. Very few things, if anything in this country, receives a majority support. But the day we refuse to discuss and engage in dialogue with each other, well, frankly, we've already lost. So it is very disappointing. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When we do, if we do, heaven forbid, if we jettison cruise tourism, as some in our community believe should happen, persons who have no connection to cruise or tourism for that matter, when the 3,000 persons who are directly employed by cruise tourism and their extended families start to lose, I hope those persons will find the CPR group and go knock on their doors before they come to knock on government's door. But you see, I agree with the minister. It breaks my heart because persons will lose. And who are we? How can anyone just disregard how others make a living because we don't support a project?
That's because you don't need the money.
Very much so. Trust fund babies rarely do.
And so, addressing all of this, ladies and gentlemen, let's just continue on. I thank the minister for calling, Deputy Premier. You can hear the emotional response there because, you know, I heard a politician once say, and I don't want to call his name because he never gave me permission to say, to call his name. But I'll never forget him telling me, he said, Ellio, you know, in politics, it's sometimes like your heart just can't be big enough. And he had a few other words as well, but I definitely say that, I understand how the Deputy Premier feels. A lot of time when you're in the politics and you see some of these things, you're experiencing it firsthand, how people are just fighting for their own bottom line, regardless of who's going to starve and die in the streets. It's a hurtful thing. So let's just deal with these things one at a time. And I want to speak even to the persons who are out there who are supporting CPR and the rest of the groups. I really want you to open your mind and open your hearts. As much as possible, keep that mind in a nice, firm, and balanced way. And maybe it might help you by saying, let's pretend that we're not talking about CPR. Let's pretend we're talking about some candidate who are making these flimsy excuses, and let's address them one at a time. Somebody's going to be disrespectful on the platform and spreading misinformation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the whole transparency process. If there was one of those leaders that got up there and was being disrespectful, hello, are we not adult and capable enough to see that he is being disrespectful? Will he not lose points for his disrespect? Absolutely. So that's not an excuse. And to make matters worse, would the Chamber Forum not jump in and say, hello, we don't conduct things this way? Would they not stop him? Of course they would. So that's a nonsense reason. And you have to see it, ladies and gentlemen, as nothing else other than a blatant lie. And scratch at anything that you can in order to get out of it. Going straight to the phone lines, small interruption.
Nope, they disappeared.
Gone.
Yep, try again.
So that excuse, ladies and gentlemen, is complete and utter nonsense. Now let's get on to the one that they talk about with the Deputy Premier. Or the Deputy Premier, they're saying, is not neutral on this matter. Well, first of all, I can tell you, to a fault, the Deputy Premier has been very, very accommodating and neutral. I remember going to one of the meetings where he was saying they wanted persons to attend a particular conference, and he made sure that it was going to be an invite for CPR and that it was going to be an invite for ACT. Of course, CPR didn't go, not surprised. And I have seen this level of neutrality. We're going to try to take a call. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, guys. How you doing this evening?
We're doing good. Appreciate your call.
I don't understand myself. I mean, if we're building the cargo dock, right? Well, when Berkeley Bush did it, and you know he had all the environmental questions, but we still got it done by McAlpine, and they did blow up the area and excavated it afterwards, which is where the cargo dock is at now, to Eden Rock. And, you know, I mean, basically, we've had so many shipwrecks there and in Hogstye Bay. There's a Kevin McKee, Art McKee's son. Kevin McKee's father, Art McKee, is the brother to Bob Soto. So, I mean, they're the same family, so they're not stupid people that don't know what they're doing or haven't done this before. I mean, there was the uncle of the Baden Shipping Company, which is Bertie Eldermeyer, who was the man who blew up the Balboa. I mean, there was enough dynamite there to blow up the entire, ocean and where the reef was at. I mean, anybody who has been diving in that area has seen that the bow, the stern section of the ship is blown quite a distance away. People, who dive with, the companies that are out here in Cayman, Red Sails or, Brown Kips or the Bob Soto, any of the other companies that are out there. I mean, they've all done that, and they've seen how the amount of dynamite which was put into the hull of the ship was able to blow these two sides, throw the engine out, and then take the middle section and turn it upside down. That's a hell of a lot of dynamite. So I would say that it destroyed a large portion of that reef, which, when the Deputy Director of the Department of Environment, Tim Austin, actually made a YouTube that we showed in the first, division that we had between us and them, trying to explain to them that the reef is dying. So what reef are we talking about that's supposed to be doing so well? And then all the, the activities, all the events that happened to Eden Rock, the distance between where Kirk Pride, as it was sinking, dropped, just went off the back of the dock, going out to the drop-off, sitting in about 800 feet of water. That's a man named Courtney Platt, who used to work with Atlantis, that went in that yellow submarine that you see up there in East End. I've been with him twice, my wife and I. We went, down to 800 feet off in Georgetown. So, I mean, how many people in Cayman have done that? Have they seen these things? I'm not talking about the foreigners who came here, who now have Cayman status and are now preaching what we should or shouldn't do, or what they think that we have to save. I mean, where were they when we came, from 1655 and ran this country and was able to never destroy any reef or, killed out all the fish or any of the other stuff that they claim we're going to do, but they never did,
Yes.
I mean, you go to Mexico, Cozumel, you'll hear them telling you not to use suntan lotion in the water. How many of them are going to give that up? You're
going to have to leave us there, but we definitely want to get you here in the studio. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Appreciate the call.
Absolutely. Appreciate your call. 745-2626 is the number. But as my colleague indicated, at 28 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock, we do need to pause and take a short commercial break. But Straight Talk will continue next right here on Bobo 103.1 FM. So don't even think about changing that radio dial.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
Big decisions need real data. Before we vote on April 30th, we deserve to know the full picture.
A cruise pair would require dredging large areas of seabed, placing our marine life, coral reefs, and water quality at risk. While Cayman would carry the environmental and economic burden, the cruise lines stand to benefit the most. They already take up to 70% of cruise passenger spending through onboard shops and exclusive partnerships. Is it worth risking what makes Cayman special so that cruise corporations can earn even more? Vote no on April 30th.
Let's protect what makes Cayman unique. Vote no to cruise berthing infrastructure.
Buy and sell almost anything. Shop and buy new and gently pre-owned items. Declutter your home and earn some extra cash by selling unwanted items. ektrade.com, where Cayman goes online to buy and sell.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay.
No one can stop me when I taste the feel.
Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Have your engine driving like never before with Pure 93, the highest pure octane fuel in Cayman, and available exclusively at Rubis service stations. Pure 93 protects against engine knock, restores lost power and acceleration, cleans fuel injectors, intake valves, removes engine deposits, improves your fuel economy, and it meets international specification requirements for your car. Fill up with Pure 93 now and keep your engine running like new. Fuel the difference with Pure 93, available exclusively at Rubis.
We all work hard to one day buy the house of our dreams. Why wouldn't you protect it? With Saxon, you now have the option to get a home insurance quote online. Avoid the waiting in lines and the traffic. Simply log on to saxon.ky and click to get a quote to get started. At Saxon, we pride ourselves on providing our customers with excellent customer service and convenience. So what are you waiting for? Visit saxon.ky today from the comfort of your home or office to get your quote and protect the things you love. Saxon. Smart insurance.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at caymanwater.com.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Cayman, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 on your radio dial and simulcasting live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We're your host, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris. The phone lines remain open, as they will all the way until 6:30. The number to call, 745-2626, or you can use our version of our 1-800 number. That is our WhatsApp number, by dialing 928-2562. And from there, either leaving us a voice note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. Either way, we will share it on the air and add it to our ongoing conversation. Ellio, prior to the last two breaks, you've been engaging on, let's see, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but your general disgust with the CPR group for failing to engage in open public dialogue on the issues with anybody other than themselves.
Yes, and I am making, amongst other things, the point to every single voter out there, every single Caymanian, even if you're not voting, that all of what you're seeing taking place right now, to put it nicely, is a big, major disservice to the people of this country. We're not playing around here. This is going to have serious ramifications on 3,000 plus lives. And in addition to that, the entire economy, which is going to affect all of us. So this is not a joke, CPR. So let's get on to the argument they want to make about the deputy premier. And again, I know there's a neutrality there in terms of him being fair to everyone on this particular discussion. And again, if CPR were armed with facts about somebody being disrespectful, then bring it. But they haven't brought it, but they say it. If they have something against what the deputy premier has done, then bring it and prove it, but they can't. Let's get on to their point now here. Apparently the argument is that he's not being neutral. He has taken a pro-peer position. Ladies and gentlemen, I have heard that somebody's whispered in the government's ear and said, you have to remain neutral on this issue. I've heard that, but let me just be clear about something. The Cayman Islands is a UK territory, falls under the UK parliamentary system, and here's the way it works. If we go back just as recent as Brexit is a referendum that was being brought by the government. And government ministers, including the Prime Minister himself, David Cameron at the time, took a clear position. His position was that the UK should remain. So we call that the Remain group. You had other persons that were even in the government. I think at the time, Ben Johnson, was it Johnson?
Yeah, Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson, thank you. I got confused with the runner. Boris Johnson was also a member of the government, but he was on the leave side. He had the right to go argue for leave. And everyone, be they opposition or government, were allowed to go ahead and to take a position. It is what is normal. And if I may quote it as well, I think the Honorable Alden McLaughlin, who was one-time premier, also stated that the government mustn't just bring a referendum. The government must take a clear position on the referendum. Mm-hmm. This is not wrong. I don't even know, and I don't know why it's not even happening, to be quite honest, because I would have expected to see the government campaigning. But again, like I've said, I've heard whispers. But the bottom line of it is, if you even want to accusing, and I really don't really see him taking a position, as I would say, pro-port, like he's out there maybe some major campaign. I think what he has done has been very professional, very factual, and simply imparting to the people of this country the knowledge that he has attained while he's in office. And he's made it clear, from everything I've gathered, here's what I'm hearing. From what I'm seeing, here's what I think you should do. And he has every right to go ahead and do that. Then you heard that they throw in now that the financial situation of this country, and bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this was not an argument before. If you go search the records 2 weeks ago, this was not an argument. But you see, it's a group that's just throwing anything that they can to try to foul the project, or in terms of fouling the referendum. So now they're saying it would be fiscally irresponsible to move forward considering the finances of the country. And they know very well, ladies and gentlemen, that first and foremost, this is a referendum that is simply asking the country for a direction. We are not on a specific port project. If the people of this country vote yes, it is first of all impossible for any government to start building the next day. And it can't, because first of all, they have to go and they have to start gathering the information. They have to start putting plans together, that be it physical structures as well as financial structures, etc. And all of the community meetings and all the long drawn out process, as it is with everything in government, will take place before the government moves forward. So they know that very, very well, but yet they're talking about the financial strain of this particular project. And if you want to get onto the financial area, they also know that there's such a thing as the P3, or the public-private partnerships, PPP. A lot of these things have happened in terms of even the last port that was being proposed, or pier. It was a situation where, in terms of how that was going to be funded, it wasn't the taxpayers having to take money out of their pocket to fund this particular project. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can continue on, but I don't think there's anything of any further relevance here other than CPR making a lot of excuses. But what am I trying to say here, ladies and gentlemen, in as succinct as I can put it? This needs to be taken very, very seriously. There is no decision, arguably, that any government can take that at the end of the day, and let me just cover one more thing on the referendum side, because they mentioned that it's not binding. This, again, ladies and gentlemen, is nonsense to be saying. If you look at the referendum, I talked about Brexit in the UK. And by the way, they all took different positions. And at the end of the day, Leave won. The people actually ended up voting 52% for leaving the EU. And that was not a binding referendum, by the way. It was not a binding referendum. But the government still went ahead and respected the people's wishes and instituted the correct provisions and actually removed the UK from the EU. Understand that this is very serious circumstances. You're not seeing a lot of politicians running around right now talking about how they're pro-pair or even that they're anti-pair, but definitely, well, I've heard a couple saying anti-pair, but you're not hearing them running around talking about they're pro-pair. And if I'm to be kind, that is because, amongst other things, they want to hear the wishes of the people. But let's just be clear, ladies and gentlemen, even though this is not legally binding, it will be arguably politically binding. There's no way you're going to go out en masse, whether you do so out of ignorance, whether you do so out of misinformation or deliberate evidence-based decision, it doesn't matter. If you go to the polls and the majority votes no, I am going to bet you most likely, very high probability that no government is going to touch this issue. And what it's going to mean is that within 4 to 5 years, you are going to see the collapse of the cruise industry in the Cayman Islands. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is arguably, as I was saying earlier, no decision that a government can make that doesn't have an impact on your lives. Very important, whether it's the road you build, immigration services, whether you're going to be able to get your pensions or not, housing, all of those decisions have significant impact. Nothing different here when it comes to cruise tourism. And so when you can have a group of people with such callous that you can, and so as again, to use them as a McLaughlin word, willy-nilly, just go ahead and taking actions that you know at the end of the day, if you are successful, the consequence is going to be the destruction of thousands of lives. And that's not just the 3,000 plus that's directly in the industry. This is also impacting their families. And the nuclear family came out when I checked it last, his husband, wife, 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So you can multiply that number by 4. And of course, the indirect impact that you have on other businesses and other lives as well. They have no regard for this. All they are set about right now, and I know a lot of them, because they don't even want you to, you can put the facts as respectful as you can. They will block you because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. And let me just get on to the point about this, why a lot of this is happening. I've mentioned it before, and there are those who are going to try to say, Ellio, you're anti-foreigner. I'm not anti-foreigner. Trust me, I am not. Anyone who searches my record can see it. But I'm about having persons in this country who want to come in Cayman and live by a method of adoption, not by a method of agenda. Okay? You have to be a person that wants to do well for Cayman, and then you and I friends. You can't say you're going to do something deliberately to hurt my people, walk all over them, and then somehow I'm supposed to smile in your face and show you Cayman kind. Trash. Nonsense. Can't work that way. And I have stated this publicly. The owners of CMS, Caribbean Marine Services, at the end of the day, that's a company that has done well for this country for at least arguably 40 years. I made it abundantly clear. And the individual, one of the individuals that own it, know him very well, love the man, told him that just the other day on the phone. But when we have a dog, ladies and gentlemen, we put a collar around that dog because we love him. We don't want anything to happen to him. But we keep feeding him every day. The dog grows. And at some point in time, you've got to loosen up the collar. And at some point in time, arguably, you got to remove that collar, or the same collar that you put on him to save his life will be the same thing that kills him. Mm-hmm. We have moved now beyond the issue of tenders. Tenders can no longer accommodate Cayman in terms of cruise. And that is the significance of this referendum. Why is it peers? Because if we are going to stay in the cruise business, we have to get peers. 80% of the ships in the next couple of years are going to be mega ships. They're not going to be coming here. So this is a very, very important decision. But understand that the same Caribbean Marine Services, they make money for every person that comes on a cruise ship, whether they get off or they do not. And that tune is somewhere between 7 million maybe and 9 million, who knows, maybe more. And so it's only natural good business for somebody to say, well, I want to fight to keep making my money. Yep. But ladies and gentlemen, it can't be any individual, it can't be any group that's going to do that at the demise of our own Caymanian people. And again, I'm going to say it. I am not anti-foreigner. I am 100% pro-Caymanian. Live here, work here, born here, die right here. And at the end of the day, nobody can come into my house and tell me what me and my family have to do. If this is my yard, this is my yard. And I want Caymanians to understand what is at play here, because some of us, I might be thinking that this is just all about cruise tourism. I am telling you that we are losing this country one domino at a time. And they are emboldened now. They're emboldened just because of what they were able to accomplish with a PIR, confusing people. Some of them seem people that are out there making noise right now, where one of the same persons accosting me in a tea shop, telling me that if I don't put a vote down for the PIR, that I mustn't run for office again, and the list goes on. So I can imagine how they accosted others. But they have a victory. And I want my fellow Caymanians to understand it. And for those who don't want to believe, it's fine. Mark it down, parchment paper, put it in your Bible. Ellio Solomon telling you. If you see you go out and vote right now with this, not only are you going to hurt yourself and hurt the people of this country, the Caymanian, your own Caymanians that you're supposed to be, that's supposed to be your brother. And we should be our brother's keeper, is what a good word tells us. But in addition to that, you have been emboldened a group of people that have come here that have been given legal status in this country. But legal status at the end of the day is not, in my humble opinion, enough to make you Cayman. No, you need to be Cayman by adoption. Show me at the end of the day how you love my people. Show me at the end of the day how you working for your people or for my people. Show me that. Mm-hmm. Don't come here, get legal status, and the only thing you worried about is filling your pockets, driving your car, building your business, making your livelihood. But at the end of the day, you can walk all over my Caymanians and somehow I'm supposed to just embrace you because you got status. Don't work that way. Can't work that way, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to appeal again to every Caymanian out there. We have to go out and vote yes in the referendum. And we have to vote for candidates at the end of the day who are going to work to build the pairs in this country. And we're not doing it just for pairs. We are doing it because slowly, I am telling you, in this country, Caymanians are being overruled. And there are persons working. They're not even working behind the scenes anymore. That's the worst part. Mm-hmm. They don't work behind the scenes. Let me give you one thing as how it's a political one. When we invited Sustainable Cayman, who's behind the Sustainable Cayman? Whom other than our friend, Miss Melanie Carmichael, behind the Sustainable Cayman? Posting with complete anonymity. But her husband worked on the tenders. Isn't that a reason you would want to do it? No, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of them hiding up behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, just so you know, this is a political discussion. And when you jump in and get into political discussions, where you open yourself up to the criticisms. And you cannot stand there and be destroying Caymanian livelihood and hiding behind some name. So, ladies and gentlemen, please go out there and vote. Vote yes. That is me, Ellio A. Solomon, telling you that I think that that's what you should be doing, because it is the right thing for yourself, it's the right thing for your country, and it's the right thing for your people. I want to say one more thing in relation to part of the discussion that we talked about yesterday about independent candidates. Maybe my colleague and I can kind of remove the curtains on some of that allows us to be able to understand something. Mm-hmm. There are persons, and I'll start by saying this, that there are persons that attempt every day through humor, and it's not just here, this is worldwide, through humor, through a lot of different venues and methodologies, that we breathe a sort of natural distrust for elected members. Mm-hmm. And some of that is deserved. I'm not saying that some of it is not deserved. But what I want Caymanians to understand is you only have, politically, in running this country, you only have one power. Mm-hmm. And there are people that are trying to take it away from you. And I want to just give you some examples. If I get you to distrust your politicians to the point that you're going to end up that you have the national trust, you know, they got to deal strictly with all the environmental issues, take that away from them politicians because they're too corrupt. Then you have the National Conservation Committee. Your government can't even appoint whoever they want to appoint. No, because you can't trust them. And we've heard persons talking about Educational Council. Well, the Educational Council should run all that. Ministers shouldn't get involved with this. Here's what I'm going to say to you. Do you think that you can pick up the phone and call the governor or the deputy governor or anyone that he or she may delegate? Do you think you can call them and say, we need to fire this judge because this judge not doing the right thing? Do you think you can call them and say, anyone, yeah. Can you fire anyone in the civil service? No. Cannot do it. No. So who has the power over the civil service? The governor. Mm-hmm. Of course, he or she would say, no, we delegate that to the deputy premier. The governor has the power. So where's your power? The only persons you can hire and fire in this country, granted there's a 4-year gap, are your elected officials. This is why you must ensure that the persons that you put in there are Caymanians and that they mean your country well and that you vote for them, and when they need your assistance, you stand by them and give them the power that they need to do what they have to do to help you. You can't ring fence them and then come to them now and say, oh, you need help with this and you need help with that. Because the man will say, I can't do anything about that because National Trust got to deal with this one, and over here, this one got to deal with that. No. So the only persons you can hire and fire are your politicians. And so what does that mean? It means that the only persons you have power over are your elected officials, not the civil servants. And many people talk about, they talk about the civil servants as if everything is wholly up inside of there. I don't know where they get that from. I keep telling people, you can't have a corrupt politician if you got some corrupt people somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And you have civil servants that will look at you and tell you that you're here for 4 years, but I here forever. Or something to the like. You have power over your politicians, and because you have the power to hire or to fire them, they are the ones now that you can control by extension to be able to do something on your behalf. I want to come on one day and give you some more information, but for now, take my word on it, ladies and gentlemen. There are institution after institution, government company after government company that are just nibbling away on all the power that the politicians have. And if you think that makes you smile, let me reword it. They're nibbling away and destroying all the power that you, the voter, have.
Mm.
And we can't sit there and let that happen.
No.
All right? And lastly now, I want to touch on this issue about these community chats. So first of all, when they talk about private hands, what time I got here now?
You got 6 minutes left.
6 minutes left.
Before the next break.
I always got shortage on time.
You'd be surprised what you can cover in 6 minutes.
So let me make it quick, ladies and gentlemen. Just to give you an example about this, now we have all these community chats. You have a community chat, for example, in South Sound, of which I was a part of. And I was a part of the community chat. And let me just be clear. Ellio Solomon not feeling bad if you want to kick him off a chat, I am telling you all these things. I'm giving you the transparency because I want you to know what happened behind the scenes. Just like I won't get into a discussion about what happens behind the scenes in terms of some of the election of these persons in the government. I want to get to that too. And in transparency, I was on the chat. You know they don't want you there, And the moment I gave a little speech at the South Sound Community Center, where I talked about some of these people and what they're trying to do, they blocked me. And not blocked me, they kicked me off the group in the South Sound chat. Again, not going to call a name unless they torment me and force me to call a name. But they cut me off. But why am I telling you that, ladies and gentlemen? So where is the free speech? If you can show me where there's a disrespectful comment, harassment, you're publishing information that is wrong, I don't know, you put porn on there or something, give me something. Give me something why the person is having all of their text deleted, why the person is being kicked off of the group. I'm now experiencing the same thing on the Red Bay group. Okay? Now imagine I just go on there, and this is a public forum. And I'd like to remind you that somewhere I read that in our Constitution has freedom of expression. And so you just post a link to Straight Talk. Now, first of all, are you telling me that there's absolutely zero persons in the Red Bay community that has an interest in listening to Straight Talk? Why the administrator, at the request of Jeff Cahill, is going to just delete it? Is that what you're telling me? No, you can't tell me that. Let's just say, I think Mr. Cahill said that somehow, I don't even want to read it, bending him out of shape. You got to understand, if you post something on my chat, because this quite understandable that maybe there's specific content that I like. If something is posted on a chat that I don't like, I can delete it personally so that I don't have to feed through all of the other nonsense that I consider nonsense to get to the stuff that I like. You can just delete it. But they're not choosing to delete it individually. No, he requests, delete, bent, talk. And then right away, the administrator goes on and deletes Straight Talk. And so again, I want you to understand, this goes beyond the South Sound chat. This goes beyond the Red Bay chat. This is something that should demonstrate to you, because some of them are the same anti-peer persons, by the way. This should demonstrate to you the mentality and the attitude of some of these people. They do not want any dissenting view, and they believe that they are final arbiters of all the content that is out there. They're judge, jury, and executioner. They can determine what can and cannot exist. It's like we're living in North Korea or something. And this is happening right on those chats. And I'm telling you, what you're seeing there is just the tip of the iceberg. You think that they're only doing that in the little chats? You think that that same person is down here saying, hey, now how I want you to understand this. The person is going to say on a public chat, delete this. Yeah, let me see if I get that right. Yeah, this born Caymanian guy that's trying to promote his talk show, doing no harm to us, delete him. And I am deleted. And they do that publicly, ladies and gentlemen. Do you really have to question me as to what they will do to me or to you privately? Do you really have to question what they would do privately if they do that publicly? If I get up and, as we would say, bitch slap Austin publicly, can you imagine what I would do privately? No, ladies and gentlemen, these are serious times, serious people living up inside here. And I think that's all I'm going to say on that matter for now. I think I've ventilated sufficiently enough. The next time I come back, I think that I might be bringing some additional information that can show us some of our institutions and how they're being eroded. But I want all of them out there to know, you can sit there and think that at the end of the day, I'm not going to call your name. I can call your name. I can start calling names and taking photos, because people need to know at the end of the day, some of the people that are behind the scenes, not just destroying cruise tourism for their own selfish agendas. No, they're doing more than that. And they're not just deleting your chat publicly and have the audacity to say it publicly. No, they don't even call their friend, you know. They say it public, big and bold and broad.
Well, hold that thought. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and we do need a pause, check in with
Take
the
a
BBC
pause,
News.
man.
But there'll be more Straight Talk still to come right here on Bobo FM.
Bobo.
The BBC's From Our Own correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC is the world's most trusted news source.
And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News,
the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman,
On FM, online, and on your smart speaker.
This is Bobo 103.1.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world. Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. The Ukrainian government says it signed the outline of a minerals deal with the United States. The economy minister, Yulia Sviridenko, said the memorandum of intent paved the way for what she called an economic partnership agreement. Grant Ferret reports.
The United States had hoped to hurry through a deal giving it preferential access to Ukraine's mineral wealth in the opening weeks of Donald Trump's presidency. That was derailed by his public shouting match with Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House in February. Now, Ukraine's economy minister says she's happy to announce the signing of a memorandum of intent. She presented it as a broader undertaking than the one previously envisaged by Washington. US officials have expressed hope that an accord could be completed by the end of next week.
Donald Trump says he's sure he'll strike a trade deal with the European Union. He has been hosting the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at the White House. John Sudworth reports from Washington.
There was, as expected, much warmth on display. The two leaders stand on common political ground. Both are conservative populists who rode to power on a tough-on-immigration message. There's some hope in all this for the EU, reeling from the tariffs and feeling out of favour in Washington. But despite the warm words and Mr Trump's insistence that he was 100% sure a trade deal could be struck, much uncertainty remains. Once again, he spoke as if the tariffs weren't merely a negotiating tactic, but were here to stay.
Hamas has formally said it will not accept Israel's latest ceasefire offer. The group's chief negotiator said they'd exchange all of the remaining hostages for Palestinian prisoners and an end to the war. Here's Gary O'Donoghue.
Israel's latest offer involved a 45-day ceasefire in return for the release of 10 hostages. Hamas officials had already indicated to the BBC earlier in the week that they would reject this plan. Israel's stated aim is the complete disarmament and destruction of Hamas. Meanwhile, dozens of Gazans are dying each day in airstrikes with no humanitarian aid entering the Strip at all.
Gary O'Donoghue in Jerusalem. A cable car has plunged to the ground in southern Italy, killing at least 4 people. The company which runs the cable car called it a tragedy. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes reports from Rome.
The cable car was carrying tourists up Mount Faito, a popular hiking destination on the south side of the Bay of Naples. One of the main cables is thought to have snapped, plunging a car carrying 5 people into the forest below. 3 passengers and the driver are confirmed to have been killed. One other passenger has been airlifted to hospital in Naples in critical condition. Another group of 16 tourists were left stranded in a car further down the line, but have now all been rescued safely.
Our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes in Rome. This is David Harper in London with the latest world news from the BBC. President Trump has said he's in no hurry to launch an attack on Iran over its nuclear program. Speaking to reporters, he denied reports that he'd waved off an Israeli strike on the country, but said he believed Iran did want to negotiate. A judge in the United States has ruled that Google has an illegal monopoly in advertising technology which determines where online adverts are placed. The judge said the tech giant had willfully engaged in anti-competitive acts to dominate the market. The US Justice Department brought the case. Google says it will appeal. A shooting at Florida State University has left 2 people dead and 6 others injured. Police in Tallahassee said officers shot and wounded the gunman, who is a student at the university. Ione Wells reports.
This gunman opened fire in the Student Union building of Florida State University on Thursday morning. Police responded immediately and ended up shooting at the suspect after he failed to comply with police orders. At a press conference, police said 6 people were injured as well as the suspect himself. The suspect, Phoenix Eichner, is the son of the county's deputy sheriff, which police say is how he had access to a firearm. It was not the deputy sheriff's current service weapon, but her previous one, which she later bought to be her personal handgun.
US lawyers in the resentencing case of Eric and Lyle Menendez have spent their first day in court arguing over risk assessment reports and technicalities. The 2 brothers are serving life sentences in a California prison for shooting dead their parents in 1989. They say they were sexually abused by their father and acted in self-defense. They hope the judge will grant them parole. Health officials in Kenya have suspended all kidney transplants at a group of hospitals which operate across the country after accusations of organ trafficking. An investigation by German media linked the Kenyan hospital group to the buying and selling of organs. The Medihill Hospital Group has denied the allegations. And that's the latest. BBC News.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM on your radio dial and on streaming live.
I'm not hearing all of that. I didn't hear that. What's something my headset? Must be my headset.
Must be in your headset.
Because I heard it the moment I started talking.
Now, why do I find that not difficult to believe?
Hey, Austin, don't go there. It's probably not short.
Oh, my God. Well, Ellio Solomon not holding anything back today, telling us exactly how he feels, what he thinks, and why he thinks it. 745-2626 is the number, or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp at 928-2562. From there, you can either send us a WhatsApp audio note or a WhatsApp traditional text message, and we will read it. And again, in the interest of dialogue, you don't even have to agree with us. We will still read it nonetheless because it is the conversation that matters from this end. But Ellio, you were again ventilating various topics and expressing your views on them. I want to make sure I didn't inadvertently cut you off at that last break and you still wanted to finish. So you got 21 minutes left. So
hey, listen.
Fire away.
At least someone get the wrong impression, Austin. You know, when we chatted yesterday, he said, Ellio, we're going to talk about what topic we're talking about tomorrow. I said, Austin, leave it to me. I got to have something to talk about. So I had to make sure that I had something to talk about. In fact, that's probably the reason I couldn't sleep after 2 o'clock. You know, I got that adrenaline running. But, you know, the other thing was, and I think you can join in with this one, is, again, the experience. We had, again, Mr. Leon Gold here in the studio. Again, great. I really find him to be sounding to me. You need to close your eyes and feel it. A genuine, honest person, someone who wants to make a contribution. I appreciate that. And I like the song also. Maybe we can touch that today before we leave, Austin.
Yeah, sure.
And by the way, we're planning on taking Monday off. Am I not right?
Yes.
Exactly when were we going to announce this? Austin, I can't keep remembering everything.
You know, I know you just had sorry, I was distracted, had a caller on the line. I was trying to. There we go. The caller's back. Let's go to the phone line before we talk about those not showing up details. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good evening, Austin, Ellio.
Good evening.
Mike's here.
Evening.
Hope all is well today again.
Yeah, sorry, who is it? Dominic?
Our friend.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Dominic.
thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, too. Good to have you guys on when everybody else is heading out to the shoreline fighting for a little camping site. Weather's a little choppy on the north sound side of things, so, you know, people going out there, they want beer, I mind, especially with a little small boat, you know.
Mine, you give away a spot now, and it's not like you can give away a spot.
Well, there are so much of them I can afford to share a few with a few fellow
I tell you what, that's a good thing, because you know how hard it is to find a piece of bush, piece of quiet area in Cayman nowadays. I don't know where cappers are going to go. It seems like every square inch of Cayman beach line is developed.
All of the crab holes gone, man.
Yeah, man.
I thought I had a secluded spot the other day too, and it was so quiet. And then a day or two later, I looked over on the other side, realized, hey, some people are already over here camping. I didn't even know they were there. You know, it's so hard to find a good spot. But gentlemen, you know, the weekend is here. The countdown is on, and like I said yesterday, I certainly have, you know, already made up my mind, so I can put that behind me and start focusing on some of the other things if we do get a yes vote for the cruise fair, or let's just call it a port, you know, development, because it's obviously going to be used for multiple things at the end of the day. Cargo, port, whatever we need it for. I'm quite sure the British military and the U.S. military will certainly welcome us having a port that they can dump their bigger ships up next to as well, right? And when you think about things of a bigger port, you have to think about the infrastructure. We already have such things like the water authority and so forth. They have a wastewater system. They also have a water distribution system. So these ships, even though a lot of them have their own osmosis systems and everything on board, there are different type of services that they will require at certain ports too. And if you have the infrastructure to process those things, and I think I called in the radio came on show today, but it was mainly to focus on the fact that, let's not just, especially people like myself who already know what you're going to vote. I am already focused on the things that I think in reading up on stuff that what are the skills and all the materials and other stuff that are going to be needed to do this pier, because no longer are we talking about just building a dock where I need a bunch of marl and stuff to fill it in, right? It's going to be on pilings, and I started thinking about it real good in reading up and following up, and I said this is a great time now that regardless of whether we get a yes or no vote, but let's start educating a lot of our young people into the field of some of those skills that would be needed. These things take 5, 10, 15 years to complete. After they're done, there's maintenance that is always required for those things. And what better than to be prepared?
Mm-hmm.
So I would, like I said, that's some of the reason. I just want to mention that because a lot of people will say, man, I went in and Ellio and Dominic and Austin definitely convinced me to vote yes, but they can't even answer to someone else why they have voted yes. But there are so many reasons you have voted yes, and I've just laid out a few of them, that there is prosperity, the possibilities of it, not just in the building, the development stages, and the servicing stages afterwards. And that right now, I'm not even talking about what its main purpose is for the car going to cruise, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's just so much that us Caymanians, let's just, you keep hearing this 80,000, 100,000 population, but you got to remember a lot of those people are already, working in certain fields, and the majority of them are not Caymanians. So if you take the little 30,000 us Caymanians and start figuring out the few of us who will probably decide to quit our accounting job to pick up one of those skills that are going to be needed for the next 5, 10, 15 years, that I can make more money in 5, 10, 15 years that I'm going to make at my 25 or 35-year job, So this is time to people to start thinking and looking forward to, yes, I already obtained those skills, that education, but perhaps I need to look in another direction so that when this opportunity come along, I am able to reject this. But you can look forward to being able to, cash in other words, on those things as Caymanians.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dominique, for your comments. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to call in. We do value your opinions and your thoughts. And, again, thanks a lot. If we don't talk to you between now and, Tuesday, hope you have yourself a great long Easter weekend.
It sounds like he already pitched tent,
It sounds like it. It also sounds there at the tail end he was a little distracted, which, again, we can understand,
Yeah.
Don't want to get in his way at all. But we do have another caller on the line.
Did you hear a zip? Zip?
I heard something.
Was
Hello,
something,
good
right?
evening, caller. You're on the air. Hello? Oh, didn't stick around. They left us. 745-2626 is the number.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got your ears on and you got a comment or a thought on your mind, whether it has to do with what we've been talking about or something else, we want to hear from you. Let's go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Austin, Ellio, Dominique back on. Sorry about that. Got cut a little short, but
okay.
like I was saying, there's much opportunity there for those people who will say yes, maybe not for them, but for their children, their family members. So it is something that if you're choosing to say yes, as I was mentioning, that you have to think about that as well too. And all those people who are going to be voting, you have to think about the fact, what if you do get a yes vote? You're going to be part of this community that can take advantage of the opportunity that may arise.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm not going to elaborate on that so much. I know you gentlemen, I need to leave room for you to make your comments as well.
Man, elaborate all you want. Get it off your chest.
Yeah, we said enough.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. As I said, those are the things that people can think about. And most of all, gentlemen, these are the things that our our educational institutions know that this is something we are aiming at. They should have already prepared to make sure that if we do a yes vote, they can provide us with those courses and whatever it takes to get us equipped and skilled for this upcoming project or projects by that time. And I don't see where it cannot be done, because I myself, had the opportunity to be able to attend UCCI, and I can tell you, not just one time, but I went there more than one time for different things. And sometimes I feel like I should have been doing that further, because it's nice to have a doctor and nice to have this and that. But at the end of the day, I've gotten to the point where I felt like, okay, in this field, I can go out and apply for a job. I just need the experience, etc. And of course, that's the same thing we're going to be faced with. So if you don't try to get these people into the practical stuff now, so that we can at least give them a little bit of vocabulary or whatever experience that they can get. So when the opportunity comes along, they're able to say, I got a certification and I have some experience now to prove as well. Yes, give me the job and whatever. There's always a master looking over, a master plumber, master electrician. It's always that supervision that's going on. So it's just a hands-on skill that's going to be needed in some of the other technical, computer, IT, whatever. These are all the things that we're not talking about building a port that was a long time where you had to tie it up with a bunch of stuff. This port is going to have a lot of the state-of-the-art technology that's going to come with it. So those people who are in IT technology, those are the people that we want to get prepared and trained to take the jobs that are required to run this, or some of the people that are in those positions who are to train and perfect their skills. So when they go to the port, to the polls, they can say, if I vote yes, at least I know, hopefully, these are the opportunities that are coming, and the educational institutions can help us prepare for that.
Yeah, my brother. So I was saying behind your back, it sounded like you pitched 10 already.
Yeah, so I heard that little part, but the last time I went camping out, I noticed every morning when I wake up, I'm the only one on the campsite around 5 o'clock, and I realized everybody going home and sleeping in a nice soft bed. So this year, I decided that I'll take the soft bed and go to the campsite early in the morning, but...
So you're not leaving your soft bed to go in the bush.
Austin totally endorses that.
Completely endorses that, my brother.
Yes. And like I said, I hope that as we prepare, and hopefully you get a yes vote, and as the cruise industry, those people over there, hopefully they're listening to not just us Caymanians, but those people that own the industry that will be bringing business to our port. I hope that they can look back at some of the contracts that they have with some of our tour operators and offer them a little better deal so that they can maintain their buses, maintain their boat. We can remove the stipends that we have to provide for those land and sea bodies so that they can finally have a profit and feel proud that they're actually paying for their own business. Because government really shouldn't have these subsidizing all these things just because we make money in other areas, but we give them back in this area, so it's still a loss, and it needs to be a little balance there, and I think that's where the tourism minister definitely has to get involved with the cruise operators. A lot of those contracts, especially with an entity like the Land and Sea Corp, where they do, government provides, it was created by government. Government should look back at some of the contracts and say, okay, let's get some better deals for these people and get some more contracts with them as well, and and then of course those others in the private sector, they can always reach out to the tourism minister and say, well, here's my sort of deal. It's, you want to keep it, confidential, but perhaps you can see if you can get something better for me as well. So all of this has to be done and prepared for. We got to be very proactive going forward, and
you lost him again.
Sounds so, boy. And I didn't hear a zip.
I didn't hear no zip.
But he doesn't tell you he's not home. All right, well, call us back, Dominique, if you get a chance. But we did lose you there temporarily. Again, maybe you're in a dead zone or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But we know he's not in the bush, so there's no reason for that. 745-2626 is the number. 19 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, giving us just over 9 minutes before we have to wrap it up for today. Just taking a look at the WhatsApp pages. One of the things it's also the absence of cruise piers is it's also affecting people who send money to other countries like Philippines, Jamaica, and Honduras. Well, again, the cruise lines feed not only the Cayman Islands, but, persons who work in this country.
It sounds like a tongue-in-cheek statement.
Does it? Yeah. Well, it was.
But I think, I could be wrong. I have been known, but let me say that a lot of Caymanians are the ones that are in the cruise business. Had one person, again, just explaining to me when there was the good days, making even $1,500 a day. I think you will find that there are much more expatriate workers, to put it nicely, that are working in the stay over industry as opposed to cruise. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't want to align any particular motive, but it sounded that way to me. Either that or just a little bit misinformed.
Okay, yeah, no, but I read the WhatsApp as it was shared, and I didn't want to draw too much into what the meaning was, but certainly if the writer is listening and meant something else or wishes to clarify, then by all means,
welcome it.
Do share some thoughts. I think I'm seeing somebody suggesting that there may have been a car accident in front of our studio. I don't know quite.
Had nothing to do with us.
Had nothing to do with us. We promised we were here, but
it could have been. Could have been all the talk, though.
It could have been somebody focusing on that, getting a little annoyed, and said, "Come on, move!" Click, and have a little bumper to bumper. Actually, no. We got ourselves a truck in what appears to be a face-to-face battle with what could be another Honda Fit. Can you imagine? My God, what is with these cars and accidents? Another comment says, "Good evening, Ellio and Austin. I have been a resident of Red Bay for over 20 years." And let me just expand that. "And have quietly observed the community chat without commenting. It's clear that the administrators of that chat have taken a biased stance and are intentionally muzzling open discussion. I want to make it clear. I am neither for nor against cruise berthing at this point, but based on the actions of the anti-port supporters, I feel almost compelled to support the pro-port supporters. What I am for is free speech, honest dialogue, especially in a democratic society like ours. There are nearly 200 people in that chat group. If it's truly a community forum, then every voice should be allowed, regardless of how controversial it may be, as long as respect and decorum is maintained, especially now during a critical referendum. How are we supposed to make informed decisions about our future, our representatives, and issues that directly impact our livelihoods if open discussion is being suppressed at the district level? At a time like this, we should be encouraging conversation, not silencing it." And I just want to say amen and hallelujah to that writer, because I thoroughly agree with that point of view.
Absolutely.
Now is the time where we need to be encouraging conversation. Conversation doesn't mean we have to agree, but as we always say, we can still disagree without being disagreeable. And even in conversation, especially in conversations where the person and I do not agree, I always learn something. If my mind is open to a fair exchange of ideas, then how can you not learn something from persons who take a different viewpoint? Let's go to the phone line. It's got another caller. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Good caller, you're on the air. Good caller, you're on the air. Hello.
Turn down your radio. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, you're on the air. Okay. Hello, you're on the air.
Turn down your radio. Turn down your radio.
Turn down your radio.
Turn down your radio. I can still hear myself echoing.
Okay, I cut it off. Is it better now?
Yeah. Much better now. Good evening.
Okay, guys. This is Ruben Ackman talking here. I just wanted to, I tried to get you a couple of times, but I didn't realize you had to dial our area code and all that stuff, 1345, before you can get in there. I don't know where that is.
Sorry, say that again?
He's saying he has to put the 345 in front of the number to get in.
The report, when I do that, the person on the voice on the phone says, please, you got to do the 1345 thing. I don't know what's, you know.
You know, I don't know. I've
never called in.
I've never called in the program, so I don't know. But certainly, if other persons are experiencing this, we would love to hear it.
Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted you to know, I don't have anything. I'm not going to be talking because I know you haven't got much time. But I just want you to know that I really enjoy listening to you guys. And sometime in the next week or so, I'm going to be calling too. Things I wanted to say, and I think it's important that people know certain things. And you guys will that's when I'll talk to you about what I got in mind.
All right.
We look forward to hearing it, Mr. Ackerman.
And Mr. Ackerman, let me just say, it really did warm our hearts yesterday when you called up and we heard your voice on the other end.
Absolutely. Bring back a lot of
memories from a not too distant past.
Oh, man. Thank you, guys.
And we also know about that tremendous knowledge you have in architecture and everything else. So we look forward to those discussions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. God bless you.
All right,
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Have a happy Easter as well. Again, some may not understand it, but, many, many moons ago in a different universe, that last caller was a regular contributor to our daily discussions, and it really is so nice to hear some of those familiar voices, many of those familiar voices, but at the same token, we're also thrilled to hear new voices as well. But
we welcome them all, but it's definitely a bit of nostalgia, to say the least, when you hear some of those old callers, right?
Absolutely. Got another WhatsApp text message at 26 minutes past the hour of 6. I want to thank the person who made a comment about the censoring of information on the Red Bay chat group. I think those administrators owe some clear explanation as to why they are censoring people. This is a sad day in Cayman. Happy Easter to you and happy Easter to the Cayman Islands. So, again, I think, it's fair comment. I have witnessed it as well in my former, or even still to this day, prospect. A lot of these sites, a lot of these chat groups are either started by the politicians and or administered by their support crews, and only certain persons can offer commentary outside of community issues. The common excuse is, when they don't like a message, it's like, whoa, this chat is for community issues only, lost dogs, cats, robbers, and things of that. Right. But we don't want to talk politics because we discourage it. Okay, fair enough. But then certain individuals are allowed to provide their otherwise viewpoints on political matters.
Yeah.
And it's all fine.
Well, it's the same thing
it's like this week when a certain someone who I won't name, criticized us for fear-mongering, as apparently we're wrong.
Yeah.
But the same individual promoted the riffraff comment, encouraged protests, and went on the air and suggested these persons should be deported. But all of that is fair game.
Yeah.
All of that is proper dialogue. Yeah. I'm really getting tired of that annoyance, by the way, I have to tell you. I really am getting tired of it entirely. Yeah. But I will not name it because it just ain't worth it.
Yeah, not really worth it right now. So, just again on the chat, you see that all the time. And again, there was a couple of days ago where the Sustainable Cayman, again, I've already named the person behind that one there, they're posting their propaganda.
45 seconds.
But calling for the deletion of the other propaganda. It is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleague and I will not be here on Monday, but we'll be here in spirit. We think we deserve a day off.
Yeah.
And we're going to miss you, but we'll be here on Tuesday. So don't forget us on Tuesday. And thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless all of you. See you here on Tuesday right here on Straight Talk.
You're getting ahead of yourself, buddy. We still have Friday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Crap.
Tomorrow's a public holiday. Everybody else will be gone. But
this is that virtual Friday I'm talking about.
I know it feels like a virtual Friday.
All right. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, 4:30, right here for more Straight Talk on Bobo FM.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1. The following commercial messages are brought to you exclusively by Stingray Media.